Today I'll be giving you my first impressions on the React Miler 3 by Nike. Throughout the video I'll give you my thoughts on the shoe so far regarding their features and wearing them for running, HIIT workouts, and casually. The React Miler 3 released a few weeks ago towards the end of March. It retails for $120 US, which is actually cheaper than the last version by $10, and I got them in US size 11, which is true to size for me. Starting at the upper, the shoe features a new material compared to the one that we saw on the second generation, and according to Nike, this is an engineered mesh that was created and placed on the upper based on runner-informed data, all while keeping breathability and durability in mind. It's a bit more stretchy and flexible compared to the one that we saw on the 2, but it's not as breathable, especially because they removed the pores that were found throughout the upper that added a bit of airflow into the shoe. Also, the lining on the inside, while very comfortable, feels like it retains plenty of heat. It's been good during the cold days, but I'm a bit concerned once I start running with them outside during the summer since they might get too hot. The upper also features a new tongue and collar compared to the last version, but I'm simply not a fan. The tongue is a lot larger, but it feels very simple and like it belongs on a less premium shoe. And these are not the most premium or expensive shoes to begin with, but the tongue on the 2 felt a lot more durable and higher quality. They made this one incredibly cushioned, which kind of works, but it also feels bulky and like it adds unnecessary extra volume to the shoe. The collar is where I'm mostly disappointed with this shoe though. They changed the way that the cushioning is placed around the collar and it's just not that great. I didn't feel a lot of support and the cushioning simply doesn't seem to do much in order to secure the ankle. This lack of security at the ankle is actually my biggest pet peeve with the shoes. Even with the new heel clip that not only is part of the midsole but also wraps around the back of your heel, the shoe is still not as secure. My ankle keeps slipping out of the back of the shoe in most situations, but primarily while running. Not only is it tedious, but it has also forced me to adjust my form, especially deep into a long distance run, in order to feel comfortable. Moving on to the midsole though, it is made entirely of React foam, just like the first two versions of the shoe, but it's a little bit different. The midsole now has a different shape and aesthetic compared to the last one, which creates a resemblance to the midsole found on the React Infinity run. And going off of that, while the React foam still feels bouncy and responsive, it feels like the shoe lost its identity by trying to become a cheaper version of the Infinity run. And that's something else that bothers me about this new version, because I believe that the Miler 1 and 2 were unique and recognizable from the rest of the Nike running shoes. The shoes get the job done when it comes to running, but it has been underwhelming for me. They no longer have the extra support at the arch from the last two versions, which wasn't too noticeable, but it was appreciated. And it also seemed to add a bit of stability to the shoe, which is simply not found on this third version. The React foam is still pretty soft and cushioned, but it feels like the previous version is a little bit snappier than the one found on this third version. Once again though, my biggest thing about the shoes is the lack of security at the ankle and how it overshadows, at least for me, any other positive aspect found on this shoe. The heel slippage is just incredibly noticeable, and there's not much that I've been able to do about this. Usually I just go and use the rest of the lace hoops closer towards the collar to secure the ankle a little bit more, and it tends to work, but Nike didn't really give us a lot of options when it comes to this. There's only two lace hoops right next to the tongue, and that's about it. Something that stayed consistent from the last version though is how wide these are at the toe box and the front of the shoe. They're roomy and it's quite noticeable when landing your strides, especially for me since I have wider feet. They do seem to have more of a rocker motion slash shape to them. The Miler 2 is a bit lengthier and you can definitely feel it as soon as you put them on and you start running, but this one feels a little bit more condensed and the midsole seems to curve up a bit more in order to create this rocking sensation. Since it is a running shoe, it does feel like it slopes down due to the heel drop, and this was primarily noticeable when wearing them for HIIT workouts. Most of the workout felt uncomfortable and like I was messing up my form during exercises like lunges or squats. However, the React midsole was great for cushioning the landing and responsive for jumping back up during jumping exercises. I don't think I'll wear them for training though, simply because I feel like they're more efficient for running, but I also don't plan on wearing them casually. The shoe's aesthetic doesn't look as good with most outfits, unless maybe more athletic or leisure ones. And while they're pretty comfortable, once again, they feel tailored to running and walking or standing around for a long period of time time with them just feels odd. I still tried them on with jeans for you guys, but as usual, it wasn't my favorite look. I feel like this was primarily because of the colorway though. I'm just not a fan of this darker maroonish tone. Maybe future colorways will be more aesthetically pleasing, like the colorway that we saw for the Myler 2. And I will be making a full comparison video with the Myler 2, but in the meantime, check out my first impressions video on that shoe if you haven't already.